welcome back to American Warrior Radio right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1060 WMEL, and online worldwide at 1060WMEL.com, sponsored by AVET Project. Folks, you can go online and check out the website and the Facebook pages, avetproject.org. Click on the Facebook icon, scoot in there, look at American Warrior Radio's Facebook page. Glenn, we got another awesome segment here, but before we get started, we're going to touch base with a great friend, longtime supporter of AVET Project through a myriad of ways, Doug Torpy from Frogbones Family Shooting Center. Doug, are you on the line? Hey, thanks for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it, man. Well, tell us real quick what you got going on at Frogbones. We'll talk about the Kel-Tec drawing for AVET Project, but are there any newsworthy events coming up, or what you got going on there? Cool. That's going to alleviate one issue, because I can't imagine anybody having an issue with Frogbones Family Shooting Center, but that was kind of a squeeze with everybody coming at once or at various times. Now you've got an expanded parking area, which is going to be wonderful, accommodate all your patrons. But you mentioned that your classes are blowing up. You got all kinds of people coming in for the shooting, I guess probably from novice to expert, right? For sure, especially, and I don't know if you saw an uptick after that, but I guess you did after this horrific tragedy in Orlando. I'm sure that's kind of raised the awareness with people that we need to look after and protect ourselves and our families.
Yeah, it has. We've seen a big uptick, and it's not like the ones in the past where everybody came in scared they were going to lose their gun rights. I mean, we still see a little bit of that. People buying the modern sporting rifles, the high-capacity magazines. You know, we've got a lot of people buying them just to have out in the public with them to make sure they have a fighting chance if anything like that were to ruffle on them.
Exactly, and one of the nice things, and it's the way that you help us help them, meaning our military family, is you have a weapon that was donated to AVET Project by Kel-Tec Firearms right here in Cocoa. It's a PMR 30. Can you describe that weapon real quick?
It's a fantastic little gun. It shoots 22 magnums, which are actually quite powerful round. It's equivalent to like a 380, a little less powerful than a 9mm, but it's 30 rounds. Lightweight, semi-automatic pistol. Very, very cool gun. Great firepower to have to carry around. I know quite a few people that carry those concealed, actually.
Interesting, and it is a Kel-Tec weapon, so it's warranted for life. It's made here in America with American parts. 40% of their workforce are veterans. Let's talk about that. Frogbones Family Shooting Center, you got veterans employed there as well.
We have a few. We have several guys that work behind the gun counter. We have a wounded veteran here that work here, and one of the primary owners is also a former Marine. I guess you don't say former Marine.
You just say Marine.
Marine, yeah.
They'll correct you. I know. I've been corrected. But that's pretty cool. So anybody that's interested, obviously, in all the offerings that you have at Frogbones Family Shooting Center can come straight to your store. And while they're there, they can buy a ticket. I think it's 1 for $10, 3 for $20 to get a chance to win this PMR 30. How can people find your store? Where are you located, and do you have a website?
We do. It's FrogbonesFamilyShootingCenter.com, and our address is 404 South Harbison Boulevard, Melbourne, Florida, 32901. We're right between the Melbourne and O'Galley Causeway on US 1. Big green building, good sign, 40-foot flagpole out front. We're pretty easy to find.
And aside from all of the weapon offerings, and you've got archery and the whole bit, you got a wonderful cafe there as well.
We do. Prime rib night is last night and every Friday night.
Oh.
Prime rib sandwiches,
Yeah, Jake does. Is Jake still in the kitchen there?
Yep, he sure is.
Yep, he does a wonderful job. Your entire staff, because you're the general manager, your entire staff is remarkable. If anybody has any hesitation about firearms, or even if they feel uncomfortable or uneasy around other people because of their lack of experience, you make it so easy, and you welcome them.
Absolutely, you have to. I mean, if you push them away, you're just pushing away your future customers and, depriving them of a community of not experience.
Exactly. Well, we've been talking with Doug Torpy, he's the general manager of Frogbones Family Shooting Center. Get there, and while you're there, purchase a ticket for the drawing of the Kel-Tec PMR 30 to help AVET Project, help our troops. Give them your phone number one time.
321-312-4576. We're open 10 to 9, 7 days a week.
Outstanding. Brother, thank you so much for joining us on American Warrior Radio.
Thanks, guys.
You bet. Thank you.
Now, Glenn, we got to keep moving because we've got a very important subject we need to cover. I know there's a lot of upset over what's been said about the proposed rule change. Kind of recap it for us, and then we'll introduce our guest.
Well, in essence, the VA is proposing to give much more care ability to registered nurse practitioners than they currently have, to include writing some prescriptions and levels of care that they can provide to our veterans. And a lot of people are upset about that, and we think it's because of misinformation, and we want to try and get that cleared up here for you.
That's what we do on American Warrior Radio, so I'm here and I'm thankful that we're being joined by Lieutenant Colonel Arnold Stalker. He's with the 920th Rescue Wing. Have we got you on the line, Colonel? Oh, wonderful. You're coming through loud and clear. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, you have a lot to talk about, but before we do, I just wanted to share a little bit of background bio on yourself so they're acquainted with you. Where were you born and raised?
I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, born and raised there.
Okay, and why? Go ahead.
I've been down here in Florida since about 2001.
Okay.
Actually, 1995 I went down there.
Okay. Well, when you were up there in Pennsylvania, woo-ha, go Steelers, sorry Philadelphia Eagles, but when you were there, you enlisted in the Army. Why did you enlist in the Army? Why was that important to you?
Well, actually, I enlisted in the Air Force Reserves, and I tried school at the time, and it just wasn't clicking for me. I tried college, and it just wasn't clicking. So I wanted to do something that I thought would be meaningful, find a way to serve, so I joined the reserves. And actually, it was the Air Force Reserves that started the fire within me to finally go on and get an education.
And you did that in spades.
I did.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you where you went to college and graduated from.
Okay. Well, after flying as a flight medic with the Air Force Reserve, I was working with a lot of med techs or highly motivated sergeants I work with, and the nurses that I work with. I work with some nurses that taught me a lot of stuff about working independently and being that type of person that seeks knowledge. So that's where it all kicked in. I decided to go to school. I went to school and got my associate's degree in nursing. And I worked as a flight nurse. I worked in the emergency department. And I got a lot of good trauma experience, good experience taking care of critical care patients.
All right, well, Colonel, go back. You said you went, got your associates and became a flight nurse. What exactly were the responsibilities of a flight nurse? Because this would have been early in your career.
That was really my career. To be honest, I was a paramedic already. I worked with the Air Force, with patients back and forth. It took me about a year before I could get an assignment as a flight nurse. As a flight nurse, we moved patients from one critical care hospital to another critical care hospital. Going from a hospital that didn't have the critical services that were required, we moved those patients to a higher level of care where they can receive treatment. I flew with a pilot, a paramedic, and me as the flight nurse.
That was a lot of responsibility, but you were competent and qualified, and that's when you said, you know, school may not have been for me earlier, but that really fueled the fire for you to go on and continue your education.
Absolutely, that did it. That kicked it in. So from there, working critical care, I was exposed to registered nurses, and I was exposed especially to certified registered nurse anesthetists when we went into the hospital and did airway management. And one of the flight nurses of that movement was a CRNA, a certified registered nurse anesthetist. There I decided, okay, that's what I want to do. So it motivated me to go back to school and get my bachelor's degree.
Okay, and then when did you get commissioned, and explain for our audience what a Mustang means and why it's prestigious?
Okay, let me jump back for a second. So as a flight medic at the time, then I tried for rescue, didn't swim fast enough, so I went into the Army.
Okay.
Army time. So I went to the Army, became a Green Beret Special Forces medic, where I learned more about medical capabilities. Really, that's what my anesthesia desired. I worked there for about 10 years, then I went back after my master's degree in anesthesia. I went back to the Air Force, became a pararescueman, and I worked as a pararescueman in the reserves alongside that same time where I worked in the civilian sector as a certified registered nurse anesthetist. So after getting deployed to the Middle East after 9/11, after 2 deployments, I came back, I put in the package to get commissioned. So I went from a master sergeant at E7, and I got commissioned as a major.
Oh, wow.
20 plus years that I spent as a registered nurse. So your question as far as a Mustang is a slang term used by the military. It's someone who has received a commission, but previously they were enlisted. So we have a good idea what's required for the enlisted corps, and it's a nice rounded experience that we have to bring to the table.
Very well said. And our previous guest, Captain Gatewood with the Coast Guard, followed the same career path. He was enlisted first, got his bachelor's and what have you, and then he became commissioned. Because there's a higher level of respect for guys like you and gals that have been enlisted, know what's going on the ground, and then get your commission. But you've got such a history here. So the Army Special Forces, you were a medical sergeant, and you made your way up to a master sergeant when you went into the Air Force Reserves as a pararescueman. And the difference there is, as now a lieutenant colonel, would you be excluded from the PJ Corps, or how does that work? Because I know it was all enlisted at one time.
It was still enlisted. When I was pararescue, I was enlisted. Once I got commissioned in the nurse corps. So that ended my pararescue career, and I switched over from being a pararescueman to a registered nurse in the military.
Okay, so as we come into the heart of the matter here, and I know you're anxious to talk about it, and I'm really fortunate to have you on the line so you can explain some of this, but you are an ARNP. What is that?
An ARNP, an advanced practice registered nurse. So we are nurses that went back to school for a specialty. We have either a master's degree or a doctorate degree in our respective specialty. As far as nurse practitioners, there are about 4 bodies, one being certified registered nurse anesthetist, the other is nurse practitioners, the other is certified nurse midwife, and clinical nurse specialties. These are the 4 areas of advanced practice nurses that are working within the scope of practice of nursing in the United States.
And Arnold, again, we're talking with Arnold Stalker. He is a lieutenant colonel with the 920th Rescue Wing. You practice on the outside, and you bring your skill set to our brave warfighters when you're on orders with the reserves. But you went even further than that. You have what's termed a terminal degree. You can't go any higher as a DNP. Explain that.
Okay, yes, my terminal degree is, like you said, a DNP, a Doctor of Nursing Practice. So there's a couple different terminal degrees you can get. You can get a PhD. PhD is on the research side.
Yes.
There's different topics. The DNP is on the practice side. So what we do research on our own, but we take that research that's done by the PhD people, and we take it and we put it into practice and put it into patient care. So we take it from the paper and put it to a hands-on purpose to take care of patients.
again, that's a great way to explain it, because it's the practice of it. Even though you obviously have skills in research and what have you, you take all this knowledge and you actually go into patient care and directly help veterans and active duty members and whoever you're doing it, because you also have an occupation on the outside where you practice, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The outside, I'm a certified registered nurse anesthetist, and I provide anesthesia for all varied populations. I've done anesthesia for newborns up until people that are geriatric, from healthy patients to very sick patients with multiple type illnesses and to trauma patients. I've, as a certified registered nurse anesthetist, I've done the deployment where I was the sole anesthesia provider in that area, in that forward operating base. I took care of, I used my whole scope of nursing practice, from taking care of little things like sprained ankles to trauma patients, patients that were blown up, shot, stabbed, and burned.
Wow, I mean, I salute you. I mean, with all your, how many years total service you got right now?
Well, actually, I joined in 1977, so next year will be
Wow.
40 years.
Wow.
I am so glad you are a member of our United States services in the military, because you deliver so much. So, and you really did that. Well, that puts it into perspective for everybody, so they can clearly identify in their own mind what level of care people with your education and experience can provide to the patients. And that's central to the issue we want to address. And as you know, the United States Department of Veterans Affairs published a proposed rule change which would grant basically full practice authority to people with your qualifications, APRN. It's basically the same as an ARNP, right? Am I using them interchangeably?
Yes, they are used interchangeably. They're the same thing, advanced practice registered nurse, or ARNP. As in Florida, we use the term ARNP. But yes, they're interchangeable. They're the same thing. They're nurses that have an advanced degree. And yes, the VA did publish this new ruling, and it's still, they're looking at it, and it's still under investigation, but it looks like it might go through. But what it's going to do, it's going to add more providers out there so our veterans can get in the door and receive care quicker.
Yeah, and I think some of the concern is that the care they get is not going to be the same as getting it from a doctor, and they're worried that they're being downtrodden. I don't know.
Downgraded their care's being-
Downgraded their care. Yeah.
So if an MD or a DO, doctor of osteopathy, if they're involved in patient care, that's one thing. But you're saying and explaining that the ARNPs and people with your, again, high level of experience and knowledge are providing the same types of services even now as we speak, correct?
Yes, sir. We provide nursing services. We are trained as nurses, and we provide nursing service. We work within our scope of practice and our level of education. So when a patient comes to see us, we do the workup. And if you look at my profession, anesthesia, we do the whole range of anesthesia. We do the pre-op, we do the anesthesia. I'm with the patient from the time the patient goes to sleep. I monitor them during the procedure. I adjust my anesthetics as required. I'm there when they wake up. The good thing that I love about my job, I'm there when you go to sleep. I'm the last person you see before you go to sleep. I'm the first person you see when you wake up.
And-
Most of my patients wake up with a smile.
That's the way
Because
you're
they're
on it.
awake. Yeah.
For sure. But again, because I know in the practical realm, people in the general public, they see a anesthesiologist as a super highly qualified doctor, and they are. But you have essentially the same level of knowledge and experience, and you're applying that right now on a practical basis.
Absolutely. Anesthesiologists are highly qualified, and nurse anesthetists, we are highly qualified. We provide a full range of anesthesia. We provide anesthesia in many different settings. And if you look in the rural settings, there's some places that have no anesthesiologists. Their whole hospital, their whole anesthesia services are run and maintained by certified registered nurse anesthetists. If you look at the Army
health services, a certified registered nurse anesthetist, and other advanced practice nurses work through our full range of education and training. So we do provide the whole spectrum. And again, we work under our own license. We work under our own Nursing Practice Act.
Exactly. Now explain that, because that says a lot right there, that you are autonomous, that you are literally out there working on your own without, I guess, the direct supervision of an MD, correct?
That's correct. We don't have direct supervision. Well, just like any other MD, we collaborate with everyone else. Just as an MD, if they're going to see a patient and they see something and they're not sure of what's going on, they'll knock on their colleague's door, they'll make a telephone call and say, hey, this is what I have. Just as our nurse practitioners do the same thing. Me as a nurse anesthetist, if I have a question, I'll contact another colleague and I'll say, hey, Dr. Such and Such, this is what I got. What do you think?
Yeah.
It's all, medicine and nursing is all about collaboration. We're not about beating each other up. We're about working together to provide good, safe patient anesthesia and patient care.
Exactly, and when I'm looking at the VA proposal here, it talks about superseding some state law restrictions. So that leads me to believe in some states they put a restriction on what you can do in your practice, and of course the VA is proposing to overcome that. And what's your thoughts on that? You know, I know. If you're in a state that has a restriction to your practice that you don't have in another state, what's your thoughts about that, or would you have to comply with that?
Well, the thing about the VA is one of the biggest healthcare systems that we have in the United States. And to make it all even, all the VAs, from my understanding, the practice will be the same. It doesn't matter where you work. Just as if you're in the military. It doesn't matter if you're in California, you're working at Travis Air Force Base, or you're at your Air Force Base, or you're at Fort Bragg in North Carolina with the Army.
Sure.
All the practices within the military are standardized within those branches, and it would be very similar with the VA. So no matter where you work, your standard will be the same. You're still held to the highest standard.
So the takeaway from you, sir, and colleagues of yours, the doctors might be a little up in arms because they think somebody's cutting into their professional
Practice.
field or practice, but you can actually tell your fellow active duty members, and that will all become veterans, that this is actually a good thing, and it's quite honestly in practice today, correct?
It has been in practice for many years.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to lean towards nurse anesthesia. We've been doing anesthesia for over 150 years, and we do a large number of anesthetics in the United States. And most of the time, when you're getting an anesthesia, you're getting an operation, and your anesthesia provider, people assume they're a physician. But many times, it's a certified registered nurse anesthetist that's doing that high quality care. So I always introduce myself. Hi, my name is Arnold Stocker. I'm your certified registered nurse anesthetist. So we can educate the public and give our profession credit, because I think we, as far as CRNAs and other nurse practitioners, need to educate the public that we're out there. We've been out.
Exactly. Well, sir, we're out of time on American Warrior Radio. Hopefully we can visit with you again, because you have so much to offer. But thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time.
And Glenn?
And as always, call the Veterans Crisis Line, 1-800-273-8255. And as always, don't forget, thank a vet.